In this video, we're going to look at objects and classes in Ruby. Now, some of this object-oriented programming can be pretty daunting to try to wrap your head around. Some of the concepts are pretty advanced, and you can get kind of carried away trying to draw the analogy between the real world and objects and classes in programming, and some programmers get themselves into pretty deep trouble by trying to maintain that analogy, and instead of breaking free and realizing, no, you're programming and that doesn't necessarily relate to what the real world issue is that you're trying to deal with. So, objects come from classes. So just hold that in your mind for a second about objects, and then we'll get back to objects in a second. Classes are essentially a template, a programming template that describe this object, and you create many objects from one class. So you'll typically have a class declaration and many objects that are instantiated from that class, and that's what it's called when you create an object. It's instantiation, and we'll show you in a second how to do that. But it's important to understand that the class is a template for an object, and that holds all the properties of that object, or describes all the properties of that object, I should say. So here we see a very, very simple class declaration in Ruby. So we have the keyword class, and of course the keyword end, that closes it. So all we need to do is add this name here. This is the class name. This doesn't have to match the file name here. I just chose it to match so it's easy. If this is a unique class, in other words, there shouldn't be any other class in Ruby named or like this. It's my unique class. This name needs to be unique within the namespace of Ruby. So if you're not sure, go through using RI or the web or whatever and make sure that this is not a current class name. Now, Ruby's not going to yelp at you. What's going to happen is if you declare this as an existing class already, say we declared this as string and then went and added some attributes here or whatever, all it's going to do is extend the string class. Now that's very powerful. It's used all the time, but it's not the same as having a unique class. So just be aware of that, and if you want a unique class, use a unique name. The other caveat about the name is that this is a special type of constant, the class is. So the Ruby convention is that constants start with a capital letter. So your class name needs to start with a capital letter. So hence the B here that you see, the capital B. So that's a complete declaration. Now we can play around with this from the command line IRB, the interactive Ruby. And the way we do that is we make sure we're in the directory that the file is sitting in that has that class. And I actually could have multiple classes declared in here. And maybe we'll do that in another video here. And then you can launch RB. And then what you can do is you can say require book. That's the file name, not the class name now, the file name. And you could put .rb if you really want to. And it's going to come back and say true. Now I can create book objects. So I'm going to say my book equal book.new. Now right there, there's actually two steps that I'm doing here. This step here is called assignment. This operator, the equal operator here, is being used to assign a value to this variable. This over here is a method call, and it's a very special method call using the new method, and this is instantiation, where I'm actually creating an object, specifically a book object here, and I'm assigning the location of that object in memory to this variable. So this variable kind of points to where this object exists. That's the way to think about this. So it'll come back and it actually gives me a little identifier saying, hey, here's your book. There it is. Now there's nothing there. And if I type in my book, it's just going to give me that. I'm not going to have anything else to really play around with there. So it's not real powerful in that way right now. So let's go add something here, and without getting way advanced, I'm just going to add a method call, and we'll just say hello and put s our old favorite there puts hello. So we'll save that. We'll go back to here. Okay, we can go ahead and open up IRB again here and do a require book. We get back our true, and I'll just simplify this and say that. And now we should be able to do that, and we're going to have hello world. So that's a real simple look at a class declaration and the different parts, simple parts of it, and how you actually instantiate it and assign it to an object. Now be aware that I can type in book.new and I get an object there, but since I didn't assign it to a variable, I have no reference to get back to that object. Now that is useful when you need to use an object but you don't really need a reference, so you will be doing that at times, but just be aware that when you do that, you lose the reference unless you save the reference.